Haridwar, India, late June 2026. A former president of South Africa stands at a temple garlanded in rose petals. Beside him, a fugitive from South African justice. A man wanted for fraud, for money laundering, for helping loot a nation. He calls him brother. Back in Pretoria, officials are stunned. South Africa's own ambassador to India was standing in the photo too. Opposition politicians demand an inquiry. The foreign ministry orders its own internal investigation that same week. How does a man wanted by Interpol get a red carpet from a sitting diplomat? This isn't a footnote. It's the latest chapter of a scandal that has run for over a decade. A scandal that cost a nation billions, toppled a president, and is still, somehow, unresolved. To answer that, we have to go back to when three brothers arrived in South Africa with almost nothing and built one of the most powerful shadow networks in the country's democratic history. This is the story of the Guptas and the president who let them in. Ajay, Atul, and Rajesh Gupta landed in South Africa in 1993. The last days of apartheid, they started small. A computer hardware business called Sahara. They expanded fast. Computers, then mining, then media, then a private airline of their own. Within a decade, they weren't just selling technology, they were selling access. From a single office in Johannesburg, the family's reach eventually stretched into cabinet, into state boardrooms, into 3 provinces worth of contracts. Their breakthrough wasn't a product, it was a friendship with a rising politician named Jacob Zuma. By 2009, Zuma was president, and the Guptas were no longer outsiders. They were, according to one union leader at the time, running a shadow government. Zuma's son, Duduzane, sat on Gupta company boards. Family and business had merged. Ministers visited their compound before they visited parliament. Cabinet reshuffles were reportedly decided at their family home, not the president's office. In 2013, a private jet full of wedding guests landed at Waterkloof, a military airbase. Only the government can authorize that. The Guptas didn't need to ask twice. It became the symbol of a deeper truth. State power, quietly rented out. 2 years later, the story turned darker. A respected finance minister was abruptly fired. His replacement was a little-known backbencher in office for 4 days before public outrage forced him out. Investigators later alleged the Guptas had offered cabinet positions to politicians directly, bypassing the president entirely. If true, it meant private citizens weren't just influencing government, they were assembling it. Behind the scenes, the machine was more sophisticated than anyone realized. State-owned companies, Eskom, Transnet, the national airline, became targets, not institutions. Loyal executives were installed, independent ones were pushed out or sidelined. Then the contracts began flowing. Billions of rand moved through favored firms. At the power utility, coal contracts were steered to a Gupta-linked mine, bought for a fraction of its worth. At the freight rail operator, a locomotive deal ballooned in price, with kickbacks allegedly flowing back to the family. Even a state dairy project meant to help poor farmers was allegedly hollowed out, the money redirected to a lavish family wedding. Investigators later traced tens of billions of rand tied to Gupta-linked entities alone. The money didn't stay in South Africa. It moved. Dubai, Hong Kong, shell companies with no employees. Investigators would later describe layers of shell companies, each one designed purely to obscure the one before it. Every rand made the trail harder to follow and the family harder to touch. For years, this stayed a rumor. Whispered, denied, unprovable. Then, in 2016, a report landed that changed everything. It was called state of capture. A term was born, and South Africans finally had language for what they'd suspected. The president fought the report in court. He lost. A judicial commission was ordered. A quiet judge named Raymond Zondo was chosen to lead it. Nobody knew yet that this inquiry would run for 4 years and become the largest in the country's history. But before the commission could finish its work, the walls started closing in from another direction entirely. In 2017, a leak of more than 500,000 internal emails hit newsrooms. Suddenly, the private text messages, invoices, and instructions were public. The Guptas had also hired a British PR firm to fight back, with a campaign to stir up racial division and distract the public. Fake social media accounts pushed a new phrase into public debate: white monopoly capital. The goal, investigators concluded, was to turn public anger away from corruption and toward race. It collapsed the firm's global reputation within months. The company itself did not survive the scandal. The cover-up became almost as damning as the alleged crime itself. By 2018, Zuma's own party turned on him. He was forced to resign. The Guptas didn't wait to see what came next. They left the country. Reports placed them first in Dubai, later in Switzerland, and eventually the remote islands of Vanuatu. They had built an empire on presence. Now their power depended on staying out of reach. The Zondo Commission pressed on without them. Nearly 300 witnesses, over 400 days of hearings, more than 1 million pages of evidence, describing a network that touched nearly every arm of the state. Zuma himself was ordered to testify. When he finally did, he claimed a foreign-backed conspiracy was behind it all. He accused fellow witnesses of being apartheid-era spies. He later refused to return, defying the Constitutional Court itself. He was jailed for contempt. The sentencing triggered riots that killed more than 20 people. For a moment, one man's legal reckoning nearly destabilized an entire country. In 2022, the final Zondo report was delivered. Its conclusion was blunt. State capture had happened on an extensive scale, enabled by the president's own party. Ministers, executives, and officials were named. Criminal referrals were recommended. But naming a crime and prosecuting it are two very different battles. Interpol issued red notices for 2 of the Gupta brothers. The third, Ajay, is still believed to be at large, his whereabouts officially unconfirmed. The United States sanctioned the family entirely, freezing them out of its financial system and barring American companies from doing business with them. Washington's justification was blunt: years of using bribes to secure contracts and influence at the highest levels of a foreign government. In 2022, Atul and Rajesh Gupta were finally arrested in Dubai. South Africa moved to extradite them. It looked, for a moment, like the story was closing. Then a Dubai court rejected the request. On a technicality, missing paperwork, prosecutors said. The brothers walked free. South Africa was reportedly told 6 weeks after the Guptas already knew. South Africa's justice minister called it unprecedented and demanded answers from the UAE that never fully came. The 2 countries had signed an extradition treaty years earlier. On paper, this should have been simple. It reignited the old question: was this incompetence or something else? Prosecutors later admitted they struggled for months just to get a meeting with their Emirati counterparts. South Africa vowed to try again. Years passed. The case is still not resolved. As recently as this year, prosecutors confirmed they are preparing yet another extradition attempt. Meanwhile, a related case, Gupta-linked corruption in the Free State, was thrown out by a lower court, only to be revived on appeal in 2026. The associates in that case are now heading back to trial, a rare, hard-won win for prosecutors. The legal fight, remarkably, is still alive. And then came Haridwar, the temple, the rose petals, the word brother. A man South Africa is still trying to extradite, standing beside its former president and its own ambassador. It forced a question the Zondo Commission could describe: but never fully answer. When the people meant to hold power accountable are still, in some way, close to the people who captured it, has anything really changed? South Africa spent nearly R1 billion investigating this story. It has courts, warrants, sanctions, and thousands of pages of sworn testimony. What it does not yet have, after 8 years, is the Gupta brothers in a courtroom. The mansions they left behind still sit empty, unsold, unwanted, too notorious for any buyer to touch. Auction after auction has failed. Nobody wants to live inside a symbol of state capture. Some of the officials named by the Zondo Commission still hold positions of influence today. Others were quietly pushed out, but few have faced criminal consequences that match the scale of what was alleged. Accountability in this story has moved far slower than the money ever did. But the family's name is now permanent, shorthand for a warning about how democracies quietly hollow out. Not through a coup, not through violence, through friendship, access, and paperwork nobody checked. The final chapter of this story hasn't been written. It's still being filed, appealed, and photographed at temples half a world away.